Welcome everyone. Thank you for joining us today. My name is Karam and I'm your host for today's webinar. Today we'll talk about improving the operational efficiency of distributed support teams. And to discuss it, I have two wonderful speakers with me. One of them has extensive experience in managing people, processes, and the other one is an expert in the field of technology. So we will talk about people, processes, and technology, the three core components of optimizing operational efficiency for any business. It's going to be an interesting conversation, but before we begin, just a little housekeeping. All attendees will be on listen-only mode. Should you have any questions, please type them in the question box of the Zoom panel. We'll take them at the end of the session. In an unlikely event of us running into a technical glitch, be it with the internet or Zoom, please don't worry, we will be back within a few seconds. And after the live webinar is over, we will share the recording with all of you. Now, for those who are attending the SearchUnify webinars for the first time, let me quickly tell you a little about SearchUnify and our parent company, Grazity Interactive. Grazity is a digital innovation leader providing end-to-end digital services, solutions, and products for businesses. For over a decade, it's been enabling companies of all sizes, including Fortune 500 enterprises, to implement, optimize, integrate, and manage digital engines like CRMs, online communities, marketing automation tools, and analytics platforms. And SearchUnify is Grazity's flagship offering. It is a unified cognitive platform built on a core of cognitive technology, machine learning, and an insight engine. It powers intelligent search and AI-based apps that help elevate customer support and self-service. The platform and the applications augment multiple profiles across an enterprise, elevating the experience, efficiency, and outcomes. And these are just a few awards and recognitions that we recently received: a Gold Stevie and a bunch of Silver Stevies in the year 2020 and 2021, the AI Tech Awards for our chatbots. We've been maintaining a leader's position in G2's grid reports for enterprise search consecutively for 5 quarters now. We've been named a strong performer by Forrester in its recent Wave report, and we've been recommended by TSIA in its reports as well. And to learn more about us, please visit our website. And now it's time to meet our wonderful speakers, Kristin Whitaker and Divanshi Arora. Kristin is a business consultant at NETSCOUT, where she's been working for almost a decade now. And overall, she has more than 2 decades of experience in various roles, from talent acquisition and management to business procedures consulting to operations management to managing and consulting global support teams. And I just learned that among her peers, she's known as a problem solver. Whenever there's someone is faced with a problem, they generally consult Kristin. Kristin, thank you so much for joining us today. We are really honored to have you with us.
Thank you.
And our second speaker, Divanshi Arora, is Customer Success Manager at SearchUnify. She has more than half a decade of experience with various organizations, helping customers achieve their goals. At SearchUnify, she's been working closely with support leaders and consultants like Kristin to help them drive maximum value from SearchUnify and improve their customers' and employees' experiences. Hey Divanshi, thank you so much for joining us.
Hi Karam, thank you so much. I'm glad to be here.
Yeah, likewise. So, Kristin, before I start asking my questions, I think it will help our audience understand the conversation better. If you could first briefly tell us about NETSCOUT, especially about its managed services and service team. Kristin.
Sure. Well, thank you for the introduction and inviting me to speak today. I'm really excited to be here. Just a little bit about NETSCOUT. NETSCOUT is a provider of application and network performance management solutions for enterprise customers, service providers, and security teams. We were founded in 1984, and we have over 3,000 customers in over 120 countries. So we are the largest vendor in the DDoS market, and 90% of our tier 1 service providers and US Fortune 100 companies use our products. So in 2018, NETSCOUT introduced a managed service solution, which is the team that I work for. And they offered this to our product, because some of our customers were having, with the increase, I guess, or advances in technology, a lot of our customers were having challenges really maximizing, the capacity of what our tools and products could offer them. And so this managed solution was offered. It's called NVOS. You'll hear me refer to it as VOS. That's our team name, our department name. It stands for Visibility as a Service. And NETSCOUT thought this service would help our customers get maximum usage out of our products and service. And it really took off about as fast as it rolled out. I mean, we were up to almost 100, customers within the first year of being rolled out. We are a global team. We use the follow the sun model, and we are available 24/7. We offer proactive network monitoring, where the NOC team sees alerts, and a lot of times our products will have hundreds of alerts. We take those alerts and roll them up into events. And when the NOC sees those alerts, it can be on anything as small as a server in a server environment being unplugged, whatever it is we're monitoring for the customer. So this NOC team monitors that 24/7. And when there's an issue that we see, they will either resolve it, reach out to the customer, depending on whatever escalation plans we have in place with the customer, and then they'll create a case that will end up going to our service engineers. We have a service team that not only provides troubleshooting support, but they also work directly with the customers, and we build out dashboards, grids, reports, so that the customer can easily monitor the applications and services that are important to them. So in order to manage and work with customers around the world, our team has to be experts, not only in our NETSCOUT products, but they also have to have a good understanding and knowledge of a wide range of other applications and products that are used by our customers. We mostly work with the network teams, application teams, server, database, security teams. However, depending on the size of the company, there's often a lot more, cloud services, what have you. In order to maximize the knowledge of the team, we really need to I guess, have a very collaborative and knowledge sharing type of culture. And so early on, in order to be able to scale, I was asked to start looking at how we could create that type of culture within our group. We really needed to, be able to share knowledge globally, so that what somebody learned at one customer could easily be shared across the globe with another engineer. So while we were working on this, and already, experiencing, the challenges of working globally, then COVID hit, and then we went into a pandemic, and it just really kind of increased those challenges.
Yeah, thank you, Kristin. So it looks like you've already been working on achieving something for your team, that became a necessity for almost all teams all over the world when the pandemic hit. And because of this disruption, all three key areas of operations, people, processes, and technology, they were impacted. And especially if we look at customer support team, they were badly disrupted. So, for example, if we look at people, since they were no longer working from the same floor, they no longer had the ability to tap into the collective knowledge or wisdom of their peers because they were all working remotely. And processes that before the pandemic that were really simple, for example, case assignment or routing, they became complex because again people were remote and working, connecting with each other virtually. And to streamline these processes, businesses invested in technology, but technology also came with its own set of challenges, right? For example, accessing systems remotely and securely at that large scale when everybody went remote caused networks and systems to collapse, right? Which impacted teams' efficiency. So customer support teams, they needed further support to maintain their efficiency. And at each level, like managers, they had to face challenges like agent burnout and churn, increasing escalation, declining efficiency. And agents, on the other hand, they had to deal with challenges like increasing caseload, hold time, and declining CSAT. And this is what we observed happening across support teams. So Kristin, your team had been working as a global team even before that. So after 2020, when your team started working remotely, did it amplify any challenges?
Well, I would say yes. Luckily, we were already working on the knowledge sharing and collaboration initiative prior to the pandemic. But what really happened is, our local teams that used to be able to go into, war rooms or actually walk by somebody's desk were no longer able to do that. The pandemic, I think, really highlighted some of the gaps that I'd been finding previously whenever I was doing the analysis on this. And it also added an extra level of complexity. Our customer environments, we had a lot of customers were not really, I don't want to say they weren't prepared, but they didn't tax their systems the way they had expected to. And so they were having trouble with, people accessing documents, with people getting remote access. And so being that we're an extension of, their network, we were being pulled into challenges that, we hadn't experienced before either. So it became pretty obvious, this is, one of the processes, that I'd been looking at prior, but it became pretty obvious that validation, triage, investigation, analysis, period became probably even more complex because now everything was happening, over the internet. And so, as we were kind of looking at how are we going to be able to remain scalable with the number of, things getting stuck that are brand new, time consuming and complex, and really, I think the answer was we needed to reduce our time to knowledge.
Yeah. So when you did your initial gap analysis, so keeping knowledge at the center, I think that's the area that you identified that, okay, this is something I need to fix on priority.
Yeah. So yeah, as a new service in a company that was primarily product focused, Most of our available knowledge was around supporting break fix of our products. All of our team came from the product side. That's how they move into our team is, they work in engineering and in support, for our products, and then, they move into the service side. And so they were very experienced and had knowledge around our products, experts, I would say. But they didn't have the experience with using our products, solving real customer issues real time. And they were now working with how our products are connected to other vendors' products. And they were dealing with, server issues or applications, in a hospital that we've never really worked with before, because that was a part of their core training going into it. So most of the team had worked, in that kind of tiered support model, but that didn't really work in our new environment. And so what we were seeing was efforts were being repeated. Somebody in Europe would solve a problem in a certain situation, and we would get that same problem maybe in the US, but because we didn't participate in it, we didn't know that it happened. And so efforts were being repeated, and we were having to search multiple sources for information because everybody was remote and in different time zones. Getting on calls sometimes was difficult. So there were solutions, I think, being lost in emails.
Okay. So once you identified the gap, and so what was your vision or the plan of action that you devised to fix this gap?
Well, the vision was to really create a continuous learning culture that encourages collaboration and sharing. We wanted to automate as much as we could around knowledge and team development. We decided to build a centralized community, and we wanted that community to be a social community where our engineers could connect, and we wanted that community focused around knowledge and knowledge sharing. We wanted to take the different silos of information and be able to pull it into one area so that our engineers didn't have to go and search multiple places. They could actually find it in that one area. And we also, because you can't keep up with a large team globally of who starts learning different products and protocols and technologies around the world. We wanted to be able to have somebody here be able to know where the expert is in one of our other country locations. And so I guess the vision was really to pull all that together in one area and just create that continuous learning culture. No,
okay, so sounds like the plan was simple: to simplify access to knowledge and enable experts to connect and collaborate. So on the execution part, can you walk us a little through how you executed it with the community?
Yes. So the first thing we did was we kind of laid the foundation. I'm a really firm believer in utilizing processes that already work. I don't like to recreate the wheel. So sometimes my upfront process is a little bit slower than probably leaders would like, but I actually go through and really try to understand what tools that we have already and what processes are in place and how can we build our processes kind of along those, around those. But where there's gaps, sometimes we have to look outside. And our knowledge base that was available, like I said before, was primarily product based around break fixes. And we needed something that was documenting real customer issues. Our product team, because customers, go in, they're the support, for our product, they didn't really want us putting, how to, work with Oracle type articles in, in our support, knowledge base. And so what I did was, created the central landing space that would pull the search in, and it connects us to, cases that are already solved. It connects us to Salesforce knowledge articles that are done on the production side or product side. And then we also added a knowledge base, Confluence, which you can see here. We added that for our services teams so they could start, documenting, our service related knowledge. And then from there, if they had a search, they would be able to pull in from all of those cases. So the thing we're wanting to do next, and you can go to the, the next part, and we're not here yet, but we're also wanting to, pull in the list of experts here. We actually can kind of see this now, when you do the search, you do see who's creating articles, on the left-hand side. But what we want to do is we want to have this pull in to where you can easily see who's available, who's not, and then click a button, to be able to reach out to them. So if they want to be able to chat, they can open a chat session with them. We also want them to be able to reach out to the BOSS community. So, if they try to reach, Tim Conan here, and he doesn't know the answer, then let's send out a question to the BOSS know the answer. Let's let anybody else in the community that has had this, issue before, that maybe, isn't considered an expert because they haven't documented it yet, or they documented it, but they just haven't documented enough items in that area to be considered an expert. But they can answer those questions. And then that I also, we're not, like I said, we don't have this part built out yet, but that is something I also want to, be able to pull in so that we can actually search those Q&A areas.
And do you also have plans to, make it proactive?
Yeah. Yes. So this here is a it's part of a visual of our NOC. And so as I mentioned earlier, we do 24/7 support. And so we have a NOC team that watches a dashboard, and they can see, new alerts as they come in on the spot. And so it can be, as simple as a server is looking like it's starting to go over, it's, I guess a baseline capacity that we want it to be, and they can notify people before we even, lose, that server. And so they watch these alerts, and they'll take a look at it. And so what we want to do, and this is kind of a next phase, is that once I get connected to everything I want, and we get the articles in there, I want to then have those pull into the NOC so that when an alert comes in, and we call them events, because what we'll do is we'll take, say 100 alerts. If it's the same thing that it's alerting every, 30 minutes, nobody wants to see 100 of those. So we roll those into an event. So if we see a new event, they can click on that event, and then we'll have associated articles that will pop up that they can look at. And, depending on what they are, if it's just our tool that there's an issue with, they can fix it without creating a case, which is what we would look at as kind of a deflection. But, if that's not the case, what they could do is maybe send that article to the customer, or they can send it to our on-call support engineer to go in and try to fix it. So if we've had, I don't know how many cases where something like this has happened, that if we fix it at 3-4 o'clock in the morning, the customer went to bed thinking there was no problem, and they woke up and there was no problem because we fixed it in the middle of the night, or we at least provided and notified them the information so they could do it before their regular business hours started. And we've got a number of those cases. And so the more we can give the engineers up front, when they're looking at these, the faster that we can resolve it, and the more likely we're able to keep our customers, online. So.
And I think that's great, Kristin, because that's where the whole ecosystem of efficient support comes into picture, where we are empowering
Yes.
our agents and our support engineers with the information that they rightly need to resolve cases as quick as possible, right?
Yes.
And I think that's the aim of most of the organizations who build a support team in the first places. So I think this falls right into the picture where we encourage organizations or the ones who already have a knowledge sharing platform for their support engineers and agents. It needs to be empowered with powerful tools and powerful knowledge which already exists, right? So it's all about getting the right knowledge to the support engineers at the right time. Right.
Yeah. And not just getting them the right knowledge, but also encouraging them to collaborate and create knowledge where it doesn't exist.
Definitely.
So to that, Kristin, so it seems like so you are encouraging your engineers to create knowledge as well when they see that it doesn't exist. So
Yes.
sounds like you are following the knowledge first or knowledge centered support framework. Are you?
Yeah, I would say we are. This isn't something that's new to NETSCOUT. On our product side, we have a very good knowledge management team, and they really put together a great program. So it's something that was already important, to the company, and a lot of my engineers were already I guess, experienced with it. So, it was really important to me to kind of stay aligned with that same model, even though we were using a different knowledge base, in the background, but to stay with that model. The other thing is, in the background, looking at time to knowledge, and we were looking at that biggest gap was, being in the search for knowledge, whether it's internal, whether it's going to look at product articles or what have you, external, looking at YouTube or other types of, white papers, or swarming. To me, swarming is beautiful, but when you are taking, 3 or 4 engineers and putting them in a room to brainstorm, you're wasting valuable time. And so, so we want to make that the exception. We want it to be there and we want it to be easy, but we would rather have you solve a problem, you document it, and then have it available so that whenever the next engineer runs across that problem, it's right there for them to be able to utilize without having to go through those extra efforts.
Yeah, and to incentivize engineers or to keep them motivated for contributing and engaging within the community and for helping other engineers, most businesses or community managers, they use techniques like gamification or other techniques for incentivizing them. So do you gamify your internal community that you build for your engineers?
It is not gamified yet. That is in the works. Basically, what we've done is when we initially rolled this out, or I guess when we initially started this project, we involved the engineers in every phase of it. I think anytime you are going to try to promote a change in a culture, especially going from this tiered, oh, I can only solve this, and then if I can't do it, I have to give it to this person. If he can't do it, if we're going to move away to where, you're in control of your own knowledge and and just change that culture, we really needed to make sure that, the engineers were involved in that change. So most of my project team consisted of engineers that were out in the field, and I had them from, every single team across the globe. What we did was we started putting together what the team was asking for. And we communicated, what it was along the way. So when this started off, we were already building excitement because our team wants to do a good job. And so they were already excited for it to be rolled out. And they would ask me about it even regularly. So that excitement already made it, made them a little bit more engaged, I think, than if I would have said, hey, this is what you need to do. But then even when it rolled out, small focus groups were created to get continued input and feedback of what they were seeing, and to take the changes, and really kind of prioritize them. So the small changes that might have an immediate impact, we would do. And then the larger changes, we would at least be able to communicate on a regular basis that these are the next steps. So that's kind of where we're at and what we're doing right now. The next step, to me, is to then build the gamification. And what I want to do is, I haven't decided, I have to work with the team on this, but, a lot of people are really excited about doing the badges and things like that. So I think that might be fun. And so for those that are not, maybe even having some, fun prizes, or things like that. So that is something that, is in my plans. We also are looking at KPIs around searching, and it's also in the team's objectives. So it's something that's being communicated not only by me and the engineers on this project, but by the management and leadership that support this initiative.
Cool. And you leverage community search to make the knowledge quickly findable. So have you seen search play some role in fostering engagement among engineers?
Yeah. We are not connected to everything that you see here yet, but we are connected to the core areas that have the information that our team needs. And I regularly get, messages from teams that, the team that'll send me something that'll say, hey, I did this search and I found this right away. This would have taken me, some time to find it. And so our team is already very proactive. So it's not that hard to motivate them, but it is fun when they're finding these things to hear them kind of come back to me and tell me they're excited. And then, a lot of times they may even come back and say, what would have made this even easier is if, and then they'll give me some ideas that I then document and put on our list to look at. So.
Great. So you have been taking these initiatives to consolidate and simplify access to knowledge and enable experts to connect and collaborate. And looks like you are on your way to achieving that. Have you started seeing any impact of these initiatives so far?
Yeah, when the team's reaching out to me, they will tell me, some of the things that have really helped them, and so in these discussions, I've been asking them, on some of the things that they're going to search for, where they're finding information, how much time are they saving? And, most of them have been, I haven't had one person that I've interviewed that has said that it hasn't saved them less than 70%. They've all fallen in the 70 to 90% improvement. We haven't been really live long enough for me to actually pull numbers to show, and we are still working on, full disclosure, we are still working on taking all of that knowledge that was in emails and getting it documented and put into our knowledge base. But I would say that, the the feedback from the team is that they've seen a huge improvement on finding information just by making it accessible through, through their search.
Wow, that's wonderful. Thank
Yeah.
you, Kristin. So Divanshi, this is one case study, and you've been working closely with Kristin while she's been driving these changes for the NETSCOUT support team. You've also been working with other support leaders from other organizations. Have you been witnessing and how have you been witnessing the role of technology evolve in helping these support teams improve their efficiency?
Yes, so Karam, I think technology has been playing a bigger role and an essential role globally in each vertical that we see in the IT industry. Support is definitely one of them, but like we've all witnessed the emergence of support teams in the past years, especially when the world went remote. Through the last 2 years, I think support has been one key area that everybody was looking back to, because that's the only support you have. You don't have people around you to help you. So a proactive support system is actually become the lifeline of an organization. And when technology starts empowering the basic lifeline of an organization, like how support is being envisioned these days, I think magic happens with the customer experience. So with the constant news of agents being more proactive, support managers have been enabling their teams with smart technologies. And as the trend calls, it has come up to, let's say, 55%, which is directly going to increase in the upcoming years if we look at the first point, right? And I would personally say that intelligent technology has actually just started its course, which is why we see this market expanding to the skies and technicians are exploring on how they can make an agent's life easier, right? So I think this is where the customer service reps come into picture as well. So as working professionals, we all feel the need to have the best technology to work on, right? I mean, who doesn't want a latest Windows or a latest Mac to work on with, right? So, and I think this is a very basic example that I just took, but in SaaS and enterprise industries, while the support ecosystem had become very typical, in the earlier years where there arise the need of agents doing their jobs differently, in the sense that realizing how their customers can be given the maximum output in the least time. So this is exactly how the customer reps got facilitated with the right technology, and their productivity has increased by up to 20%, and the customer effort has also decreased on the back. So I think that has worked out quite well when we talk about the emergence of technology in the support ecosystem. And that, last but not the least, how can we leave out the people who are running the show? It's our support leaders, our support directors that we talk to in day-to-day life. And all the support leaders and managers are not only reviewing new technologies for supporting their teams, but they're also finding that the analytics that these technologies are giving, they are providing them the right insights that they need to expand their expand their support team within their product, and also how they can empower them with efficiency, which is where all these technologies have started coming into picture, and they're growing. I think they're just expanding. That's one term we can use in hire. So we've seen that 50% of the customers, right, the customer leaders have seen this jump and shift in the technology and how it is helping them further.
Yeah, so the adoption of technology has been increasing in across the support industry, and
Yes.
AI and AI powered apps, they've been the talk of the support town, right? At least for quite some time now.
Yes.
But today we would want to understand what the AI and AI powered apps really mean and do for the distributed support teams. I mean, how and where do they fit in their workflow, and how do they improve their experience?
Okay, so it is certain now that AI and cognitive technology is, elevating the customer support teams across the organization. And machine learning and AI empowers the experience not only on the front end, but I think can also highly support the managers and agents at the ground level as well. So looking at the whole system and the whole way that the support works in any organization, I think the data from the past has been a cherry for all the data scientists to form support trends and check if there are any recurring patterns in the cases. So this calls out for escalation modeling for the incoming tickets, right? So there could be certain factors like we see here where the agents, the data scientists can look at the previous cases to form in trends for the agents who are sitting right now to solve the cases. So for example, let's look at case sentiment. If we've seen a trend in the past that the where the case sentiment of the customer is quite high or a little negative for that matter, where the urgent help is required, where something is required, and those cases are not being escalated, right? So that could be a trend, because if there's something urgent, we are sure the support agents are taking it up on priority. So factors like these, where you have case scoring, where you have certain product grouping and delta timing, all of these factors that we see here are some of the chunk that we are seeing, and they can highly help us to form trends that can then give us the insights into incoming tickets, like all the tickets that are pending for an organization right now. If we have trends from the past data on how the cases are being escalated and what kind of cases are likely to get escalated, I think that data can really help support agents understand the priority of the incoming tickets and how they can work more proactively with the cases that are about to come.
Yeah, that's a smart way of looking at escalation from the previous cases to gauge the new ones, So how can they really do case assignment effectively to look at the correct data?
Right. So that is a very important part and practice for support organizations. And, based on my and our experience with the different organizations that we look at right now, each of them have certain factors based on which particular case is assigned to a particular team. Let's say based on the knowledge that an agent might have, or based on the skill set. Like if we look at the example right here on our screen, we have two agents right here, which is Joanne and Rose, and both of them are experts in different kind of domains, right? So if I have a backup issue, I know it should be assigned to Joanne rather than a Rose, because she's more expert in troubleshooting. So, this kind, if we have a background on the agent coming in from what the agent expertise is, what is the complexity of the case, and, again, going back to the case sentiment, which is one of the most important factors for intelligent case assignment, I think looking at all these factors, the support managers now need tools, or already rather have adopted tools that are giving them this insight so that the case can go to the right agent. Because a case going to the right agent would mean that the case is getting solved quickly and in the correct manner, both.
Yeah, I think that's something that support leaders definitely need this information to report their KPIs and improve their agents' efficiency. So what do you think the agents need after this once the case is assigned to them?
So I think the information that the agents need is unified case insights. And what we mean by unified case insights here is that, an agent might already receive the information that is coming with the case. So let's say all of the organizations that we see today have a case form, or even for their incoming cases coming in through phone, email, and other sources that we have. But, if I imagine myself as an agent, I believe I would need to understand my own company system in terms of how my peers have solved these kinds of cases in the past. And, this is something like the own company best practices to solve the cases, where that information starts with looking at similar cases that have already come in, like we see, with easy apps like Agent Helper. So if I'm looking at similar cases, I can always go back, study the cases on how they were solved, what were the kind of questions that other customers have asked in other related cases. So, it goes down a deeper level of understanding how my own organization, how my peers have helped solve these cases. So let's say you have top agents who've solved these similar cases. Along with this, you go down another level where you see the resolution articles that were used to solve similar cases, right? So if we have all this kind of information, I think the ML clustering that is being used to derive this information for an agent along with the analysis of the past cases and the journey that we have here, and looking at what the customer really did, it would not only help the existing agents, but I think this is a great way of onboarding a new agent who's just come into picture, right? So imagine yourself as a new agent and you have 10 cases that you need to solve. So I think this is exactly what a new agent would need to get comfortable with their own system and to see what the user who had actually created the cases was doing before he created the case. So I think all of these insights that we see here with a tool like an agent helper would greatly help the existing as well as the new agents to solve the cases quickly.
Yeah, but there's one catch. So what if the agents don't have a solution that already exists? So let's say, what would one do if a solution to a case does not exist in the knowledge base?
Right. So that's where the global concept of KCS flows in. And I'm sure all of our listeners here have heard this hot term that is supporting knowledge creation. Like who doesn't know of KCS today in the SaaS industry, right? So we know where the knowledge creation is coming from, and the resources who are actually solving the cases become a major source of creating this knowledge. And that is the trend that we've seen these days, which is why KCS started getting adopted globally, and the whole concept of enabling your agents to create a solution themselves. And we all know somewhere that support agents are not content writers at all times, so we don't really need just a KCS mechanism, but an enabler that is smart enough to enable your agents to create a solution more easily than they think they can. So with the auto population of content within let's say a smart KCS tool, this is something that we do back at SearchUnify as well, right? That you auto populate some information for the agents while they're looking at creating a new solution for their cases. Once they've analyzed that it's a new case versus the known cases that have been there earlier, I think the auto population of some kind of content really gives that drive to the agent that, okay, they are the ones who can create a solution, A, and B, that it is necessary for them to pass this information on to the knowledge teams that are sitting back there and creating articles for customer self-service. So this is essentially closing the 360-degree loop in that sense that our agents are creating knowledge, which is then going back to the new customers to avoid repeated cases. I think this would be a very simple workflow to understand for our support managers and directors, that to avoid repeated kind of cases or known kind of cases coming in, there is already few agents who can create knowledge and get them back to the customers for self-service.
Yeah, so looks like technology, with this kind of technology, we've come a long way from, respond to mundane cases day in, day out, to enabling them to contribute a lot more than that. And the role and contribution of support teams to business has also evolved, strategically. So from here, and this is Kristin for you and Divanshi for both of you, where do you see the support going in the next few years?
For us, I think service and support is really evolving from that tiered approach to more of a collaborative, continuous, learning and sharing model. I'm hearing from a lot of our customers, a lot of the same keywords that we've been looking at, as far as, the swarming and moving away from tier one. So I do think that that's getting embraced. I think that when you provide the tools, to your team, that removes roadblocks and makes things easier and gives them a path to learn more and become experts, I think that it gives support engineers that ability to push themselves, and that's motivating. You unleash their potential, and I think in turn that drives them, to continuously want to improve. And so the results motivated, empowered, knowledgeable engineers that are in control of how they deliver the service, but also in control of their careers. And I can see as more companies embrace this and kind of give, that ability to the to the engineers and make it readily available so that it's easy for them to see, I see more companies wanting to go to that model. So.
Right. And Kristin, to your point, I think through the whole knowledge sharing session that we've just done with each other, I think the whole swarming and the concept of agents collaborating with each other is something that I've seen in my, handling customers here at SearchUnify as well, that we see a lot of companies coming in with the concept of having internal communities for their agents, right? It's basically creating a platform wherein they can share their own knowledge. They can have their own forums, they can have their own discussions, something like what you're doing on your vast community, right? And I think this is where the support is going in the upcoming years, wherein agents will be as empowered as customers, and it will not only be about serving the external customers with the right knowledge, but also giving the right kind of platform and I would say, more enabled technology to the support engineers and the agents who are solving the kinds of cases that are coming in on the back end, as well as there is a great learning in that kind of an ecosystem wherein a support engineer is not only focused on, giving solution to tickets or cases that are coming in, but also learning the technology, learning the whole system that they're sitting in, and then growing from there. So I think a collaborative approach is something that we see in the upcoming years for support agents, and a lot of organizations are kind of shifting the focus from the customers to their own support teams as well, because that is kind of important.
Yeah, because empowered agents,
Of course, definitely.
empower. Yeah.
Right.
So this has been such a nice conversation that we lost track of time. I think we are already running out of time. We have a couple of questions, but in the interest of time, we have to wind it up here. So we will answer the questions via email and share the recording. And this is for the audience that we will be available at TSW Las Vegas 2021 conference. If you are there physically, please drop by our booth 301. And if you're attending virtually, you can find our virtual booth as well. And with that, we have to wind it up and we come to the end of the session. Kristin, Divanshi, thank you so much for joining us. This was really a wonderful conversation. And to our audience, thank you so much for being with us. See you next time with another webinar. Until then, take care and have a good day.
Thank you so much, Karan. Thank you, Kristin.
Thank you.